Yo, welcome back to YOML. YOML, Year of Magical Learning. Today we're on episode 77. So take it over, Chris.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I just noticed you were sporting the deep V today, so that's yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a first. All right.
Yeah. I need to
Yeah. Oh,
make
oh, deep V day. All
the
right.
V.
um, so today's book is book 77, which is this isn't actually a book. This is probably the only one that isn't technically a book in this whole entire journey. It's the Ultimate Jim Rohn Library by obviously Jim
By
Rohn.
Jim Rohn. Uh-huh.
Jim Rohn, if you don't know who that is, he's like I don't know, he's probably like one of the world's, or like probably one of the most famous pioneers of the self development and self improvement space.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of those, a lot of people like the Tony Robbins you see today and people like that, they were apprentices of like Jim Rohn.
He's the OG of the self-help
Exactly.
movement, right?
Exactly. They describe him as a world-renowned success philosopher, teacher, and motivator. So
Mm-hmm.
this particular compilation, or this particular Ultimate Jim Rohn library, is like a compilation of his most thought-provoking, income-generating, and
Okay.
fulfillment-producing ideas to this, like
So
it's
it's
like a,
like the bed of Procustes
yeah,
by Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, it's like 10 different modules essentially they put together of like some of his teachings, his best teachings over the course of his career in
Mm-hmm.
general. So this is actually was an audiobook that I read, and so yeah, on with the reflection. But
Okay.
it was good. I actually, just for what it's worth, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great like compilation, and I learned a lot. I mean, honestly, I
Mm.
felt like, I mean, clearly this guy, this is his job. He's got to be a good motivator, right? Teach you to,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise he isn't doing his job. So
Right.
certainly did his job. I would say it was invigorating and inspirational and motivating at the same time, as I
Mm-hmm.
learned. I feel like I learned as well. One of the biggest concepts that I learned in particular from this whatever you want to call it, this learning experience, I would say, with Jim Rohn, was the title, which is "Work Harder on Yourself Than You Do on Your Job." And this is something that you and I have talked about from the very beginning of when we
Mm-hmm.
first
Mm-hmm.
connected on
Right.
Clubney, and started to the infancy and building the idea of Clubney. So it was, I don't know, it was maybe like 6 months into this journey, and I was searching for more and more stuff to read, and branching outside of things. And my personal, I would call, mentor is a guy named Darren Hardy, who we've reviewed a few of his books already. I, every single day I join his little morning mentor session thing and listen to his inspirational words, and his personal mentor that he always talks about constantly is Jim Rohn. I had no idea who Jim Rohn was. I'd only heard his name through
You don't
Darren.
know your mentors?
Yeah, I did not know. Well, I knew of him because Darren would talk about him, but I didn't know anything about him beyond
Mm-hmm.
him
Mm-hmm.
talking about him, right? So I figured, what the hell, on this Your Magical Learning journey, at this time, this was only a couple months removed from Amelia's passing. When I read this one, I thought I'd give it a shot. So that was why I downloaded this one, because I wanted to learn a little bit more about my mentor's mentor, I guess, if you will. What I personally found, like I already said, was, I get it. I understand why he's been so inspirational and motivational to so many people after listening to his talks.
Mm-hmm.
But the one phrase that I just can't ever get out of my head. Well, actually, there was a couple of them that he mentioned, but this one in particular was one that really has stuck with me in my consciousness, I guess, as I've gone through this whole entire journey of the idea of work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And it actually, I don't know if that phrase reminds you of what it reminds me of, but it makes me think of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and the idea of always putting first things first, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how you work harder on yourself than you do on your job, is to make sure you focus on those non-urgent but important priorities in your life. Things like your core values, like things like learning every day, things like health, exercise, balance, whatever those values are that you hold near and dear. Like that's your first things first principles. That's what it means to
Right.
work on yourself
Right.
and you doing your job. And once you start to incorporate those things into your life, it does start to change things. I don't want this saying to sound like I don't work hard on your job. I certainly work hard on my job. In an ideal world, it's a blending of all of it together, which is what we're trying to create in Clubany, right? Which is the blending of work hard on yourself, then you do in your job, but get rid of the then you do in your job. It's just work hard on yourself, and then we'll figure out what that creates meaningful work out of, and then we can help bring that to life with with meaningful relationships you meet in Clubany. So in an ideal world, it all is seamless, but in the way that a lot of the world works, this is what we get, So it was this has been probably the most fundamental transformational idea that we talk about all the time. Is once you know yourself and you know what's important to you, go out and do it. Ironically, when I was writing this particular reflection, I had just finished listening to Darren, my morning Darren dailies that I listened to with Darren, and he was talking about the idea of like a franchise player on a sports team, which I know that concept, but if somebody listening doesn't, think of a guy like Peyton Manning, right? Your franchise player is your most important player in your franchise. He's without Peyton Manning, the Colts don't operate. Everything falls apart without this guy that is the cornerstone of the franchise. So if you think about it as like a business owner or like somebody that owned the Colts franchise, you want to do everything you can to make sure that Peyton is taken care of. That his mental health as well, that his physical health as well, that he's having meaningful connections within the organization, whatever you need to do to make sure that every element outside around that surrounds your franchise player is taken care of. You do it. That's just a smart business decision. And and Darren, it was funny that I was writing this reflection that morning because Darren was talking about that. Is like, we should all treat ourselves basically as a franchise player. I mean, you got to put yourself first things first in your life. You got to treat yourself like, surround yourself and make sure that you're the most important person getting taken care of in this whole entire scheme, in the grand scheme of things. Because if you can't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of anybody else. Now, I firmly believe that personally. And that was one of the singular focuses that I had the first day that we entered the NICU. And this is probably from years and years and years of, kind of thinking this way in general, but really I was able to put it into action the day that Amelia was born, to really go, look, I have to be here for Amelia, and I have to be 100%, all in when I'm here and present next to her. I don't know how many days we were going to get. So I wanted to make sure that I did everything that I could to keep myself balanced, healthy, mentally stable. And to do that, I really focused on putting first things first in general, which was doing a lot of the concepts that not even a lot of them, doing the same concepts that I'm doing now today, which is, try to learn something new every day, try to reflect, try to get some exercise in, and then try to, get some writing done and get my thoughts out into the world, and to keep growing that way. And that's carried over for the past, 2+ years. And this is where we are today. Right. So this is the compound effect in action, I guess, if you will. And this is what happens when you work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And you always put first things first in your life. So that's the high level overview of what Jim made me think about, and a concept that I, and a philosophy that I think is important. Love to get your thoughts on it. The question is are you working harder on yourself than you do on your job? So
yeah,
love to get your thoughts.
So I think it's a great quote, and it when you're talking through your reflection, it reminds me of a what you call it, it's how when you go on an airplane, the stewardess tells you, if in case of emergency, you need to put on your flotation device on yourself first before you put on your child. Right. And it reminds me of that, because I think it tells a lot, because yes, your child is very important to you, just like your job or anything else.
It's the most important. Right.
But you think about it, if you put the flotation device on your child, but you don't survive, you can't take care of the child. The child's gonna die anyway. Right. The child probably suffer more without you trying to protect him or her.
Right.
So that's why you have to protect yourself first, so that way you can take care of the child. So putting yourself first and working hard on yourself, it's one of those things, even if you want to be altruistic and want to make the most impact on the world and leave the biggest legacy. I mean, you still have to take care of yourself first.
Right.
And even if you speak from the selfish gene, well, you got to take care of yourself first, right? That's, to me, always point back to work on yourself and use as the core fundamental building blocks for whatever you do, whether that's your core values, your job, your environment, whatever it is, right? Without you, right? How much can you contribute if you're not 100% there? Because you mentioned like you got to go to your NICU, right? You have to be 100% focused and give your attention to your daughter. But if you are not 100% yourself, then you are, you basically cheating your daughter. You taking away the percentage of attention that you have. What have been going to her, you have divided to something else.
I could have hurt her. I could have literally hurt her by not getting enough sleep, by not staying physically, healthy, by not keeping
You're
myself
not
mentally in shape.
You're not
literally, if I get a
all.
cold and I'm dealing with a child right in front of me that's in an isolate, that's in a precarious state, like, I mean, literally, I mean, I could have hurt her by pushing myself, and thinking of only her first, and being there all day every day and not eating, not sleeping, not like, I mean, like, there, nothing, no good ever comes of one person sacrificing their well-being for literally for somebody else's well-being. If anything, it's so, you're right, it's so counterintuitive. It's almost like the idea of humans working together and we're all stronger together. We all know that we have the selfish gene, but it's actually selfish to work together in a weird way.
Yes.
Like it always ends up working itself out, where like it may not seem logical or rational necessarily to say, focus on yourself, be selfish first,
it's a second order thinking, right? You can have to think long term and see,
exactly,
okay, if I'm doing this, is this maximizing, is it optimizing whatever it is I'm trying to contribute? It reminds me of our friend Blake, right? He loves his job. He wants to help the kids in school get the most whatever fundraising that they do for the school to help these kids who have poor income family and whatnot, right? And he's gone overboard and get himself sick, right? And then he couldn't help as much because he works overtime, he works over the maximum capacity, but it delays him because he got sick.
right.
But if he would have taken of himself and maximize his contribution, he would help the kid. But now, because he wanted to help the kid, he ended up helping them less. So it ended up hurting the kids. So if you think in the second order thinking, long-term thinking, what would the impact of an impact? And that's why we asked the 5 whys, right? The 3 whys. And then the Japanese Toyota guy make it the 5 why, what's the real reason you want to do certain things, and does that answer your why, the question of the why, why this, why, so the long-term effect of it, like we were saying, to make something simple, think of the airplane flotation device, right? The long term is like you have to be able to survive to take care of the kids.
Right.
Because if you put on the kids, well, flotation is good for them, but if you're not there, it's meaningless.
Right.
And so the thing is, when you only think short term, you think, hey, I gotta put on my kids because I value my kid the most, so I put on my kid. But that's not second order thinking. You have to think further than that.
Right.
And so I think this is a great quote, and everybody should take this to heart and work on themselves and take care of themselves, take time out for themselves, so that they can be the best of themselves that they can give to the world. If that's what they want to do, that's but at the same time, without the best of themselves, I mean, it's pretty much useless. I'm sorry. You
right.
right.
Well, I don't know about useless. I'm not going to say it's useless, but like it's,
but the thing,
but
no,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
I
It's
would,
fruitless.
I would, because I'm telling you, if I'm sick, right, I'm no use to you, Chris.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm no use to you. And I probably be a burden to you and my family.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, hey, useless is, to me, is conservative. Right? You actually drag the people around you down when you don't take care of yourself. You're sick. For example, you told me about, okay, if you don't take care of yourself, you have a cold, you have bacteria, whatever, you cause the infections for your daughter. You know what I mean? So it's not only that you're useless, you're actually worse than useless.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
right?
I literally can't even be there. I mean, then I'm taken
to
away from the one place I want to be.
Tip top shape, right? You have to take care of yourself first, mentally, physically, mentally, right? And whatever else, spiritually, you need to be 100% in order to do. So it's you have to prioritize first things first. So borrowing from Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, put first things first. But that's a long term. Say, well, first things first, what does that mean? Well, it's what's important to you. Is it health? Right. If it's health, then yeah. I mean, it's not urgent right now. You're not dying, but you need to exercise. You need to have a balance, right? Mentally, job wise, whatever you do, you have to have a balance so that you can optimize yourself. Right. That you're gonna have the most impact in the end, like the most optimal path, versus just, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm going to work overtime and get burned out, and then I couldn't do it anymore. I get a splitting headaches, I get migraines, I get stressed. That turns into a plethora of other issues that, it's going to show an ugly face. And I mean, the thing is, it's in the end, it's like in second order thinking, you're not helping. You're just causing more issues for the people to solve. Because, for example, if you overdo the work, right? And then when you can't work, you leave a big gap, and then somebody has to fill the gap, and then other people will suffer. And so to me, like I said, I would strongly say you're going to be beyond useless.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying for sure. I mean, and you make a good argument for sure. I tend to lean that way, but I mean, then again, I don't know anything.
You're pretty, you're more optimistic and a nicer guy. I'm a very, I call it as I see it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I call it as I see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I totally understand. That's why obviously we get along so well, because we complement each other in a lot of different ways. But I will say this though, this requires some serious retraining of your elephant. Like this is it's funny because like what you were saying, with the kids and the airplane and things like that. Like emotionally speaking, you want to give it, like your brain tells you emotionally, like go do this first, and like this requires the rider, full rider engagement to retrain your elephant to say no, you have to focus on putting first things first. You have to work harder on yourself, because this it will benefit everyone.
The elephant and the rider before
I don't know yet, actually. Ironically, that is the last book from I finished all of my books officially. That I'm caught up now from all the books I read from Amelia's passing through like September of 2021 when I started writing these things, except for one book, which is the Happiness Hypothesis, which I plan to write a series of 5 on. So I haven't gotten
that's
to
where
starting.
The elephant came from.
So. right. So crap. Well, then we haven't really talked about. So
we're gonna have to talk about the paradigm. You need to change the paradigm. So a paradigm, to kind of give you an analogy, what a paradigm is it's essentially a map, right? You have to look at it from a different map, right? Think from a different mental map, so that you can see, hey, I'm not just doing it for the immediate impact, but what is the long-term future of whatever I do? What is the most impactful things I can do, right? So having a different map requires you to rewire your thinking, and rewire your thinking will change your habits, and your habit will change your actions.
Right. You broke and to put that in a nice visualization,
that's it. Retraining the elephant.
And the elephant is what you've been hardwired to do. You know, it's your evolution, you know, up to like our first order thinking, right? Like it's instinct, it's action, it's our emotions causing ourselves to do something, which is amazing. Honestly, like I think the elephant's the star of the show. I mean, we do so many things that are automatic and we don't even realize that we're doing it, that you know, we wouldn't be able to function if we had to be rational all the time. Like, yes. I mean, and have to think through everything. Literally, we would do nothing. We would be a puddle of inaction, you know. But the beauty of the way that the book, The Happiness Hypothesis, talks about it is your elephant is all those amazing things that make up our abilities to do stuff that, you know, it's just built in, it's hardwired into our body, right? The rider, think of it as like a little tiny guy sitting on top of the elephant. The rider can't really force an elephant to go a certain direction or whatever it may be, but like it can over time, slowly but surely, you know, make this big gigantic, you know, beast, you know, walk in a little bit of a different direction if he nudges it and gently glides it in a certain direction. And that's when, you know, the rider is an analogy for your rational brain. Like, you know, when you engage that, when you see something that does it, that your elephant is automatically doing, but then you recognize like, hey, maybe that isn't the right thing to do. Maybe it makes more sense to work together than it does to work individually. My elephant's telling me that, you know, it's all about the selfish gene and working, just getting my own stuff done. But actually, it's actually more selfish if I work together with other people because we can accomplish more and I can have more, you know. So then it's like a benefit for everybody. Like that's how you use your rider to retrain your elephant, I guess, if you will. So in similar fashion, you know, if you're focused on first working harder on yourself than you do on your job, that requires your rider to have to get involved and to be like, look,
I mean, that's require you to have a conscious effort to say, okay, I need to make sure that I understand this concept and I need to be reminded until it becomes natural to me that, you know, I need to take care of myself first. Because most of the time, and most people nowadays that I've seen, they don't even take time out for themselves. They say, well, I got to take care of, you know, a million different things before I would take time to relax or whatever and unwind all that. And I've heard this over and over again. And that means that people are not putting themselves first. And for whatever reason, I think, you know, they feel like it's frowned upon if they do.
It is, yeah. I agree, yeah.
And so they don't. So, you know, when something pile up, say, okay, I'll take care of this before I'll go in and take a 5-minute break or whatever. But then, you know, sometimes those things keep pile on and on and on. So you never do, and then you keep running your head through the weeds, the wall, the whatever you want to call it, you know, it's there. But then you do that until one day you realize that, you know, you have no time left and you're about to leave this world and you have lots and lots of regrets. Regrets is not about what you did, it's about what you did not do.
Agreed. I mean, I think you said it great. I mean, I think when people realize you have to, I don't know. I mean, a part of this goes back. This is a debate that you and I've had, you know, many times. I don't know if we should necessarily bring it up here, but it's I don't think you realize. I don't think you learn. I don't think your rider gets engaged until you have some pain, some serious pain that makes your rider engaged. Like you could tell somebody this stuff like all day, every day. We could literally put together 365, you know, video testimonials to say why this is the right way to live your life, or not the right way. This is a way that makes more rational sense to live your life this way, and to collectively benefit everyone around you, which is ultimately the end goal. But I don't think people are gonna. I just don't think that people will do it until they've been forced to do it.
Yes and no. I mean, to me, that's why there's a debate.
Right.
Because I think, you know, it's about you're nudging. Nudging is not painful, but it still works.
It does, but yeah, I don't know. We can table this one for another day. Well, yeah, all right. I could go on for this one for a while, but no, let's go ahead and pause there. But either way, I think you and I are 100% aligned on, you know, the idea of
first things first.
On yourself than you do on your job.
You gotta put yourself first, no matter what, because you're not doing anyone's a favor by put somebody else first, because you are no good. you're useless, and you're beyond useless if you are not taking care of yourself.
Agreed. So the question we can leave you all with is, are you working harder on yourself than you do on your job? It's a simple question. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a simple question, right? Like, but take it seriously. Like, I mean, think about that. You know, what's the first thing you do when you wake up every single day? I mean, I take first things first, literally. I mean, I try to get everything done that's important to me at the beginning of the day, because I don't know if I have the rest of that day. I mean, I don't want to go do other things that I don't want to do until the only thing I would change would have this be in the morning, you know, and I unfortunately I've run out of time in the morning to do all my first things.
Yeah,
first
but you know, there's more important
be,
things
right.
That you need to do, like exercise, right? You gotta exercise because that
Read,
health is
right?
important,
You know,
right?
Yeah, right.
Relationship with your wife and kid is important, right?
Right.
The reading, learning, that's important. So you do that first. But you know, so that's why, you know, this is important as well, but it's not higher than the other, right? To me, it's like I work out, I work out, I read, and you know, I do what I need to do for me, physical health first, and then the mental health, right? And then I'll do the projects or whatever that comes in later. I don't do that first. I won't do the work first thing in the morning. That's not important to me, because without me, right, the work won't be good. Without me being 100%, my work won't be good anyway. My work would be, you know, very poor, and you know, that's not gonna help anyone.
Agreed. 100%. So yeah, I mean, good reflection for the day, and good conversation, obviously. And yeah, love to hear anybody's comments if you have any. And we will look forward to seeing you all next time.
Yeah. See ya.